We want to welcome you back to another episode of Between Us and Y'all. I'm Yasmin.
I'm Nafis.
And this is another episode of Between Us and Y'all, a safe space for mothers and sons to have conversations. Beneficial. Today we have some guests. We're going to be introducing them shortly. But before we do, as we normally do, we like to advertise for local businesses. Today I'm going to be advertising for my sister-in-law. This is her tea, Shahida Sharif. She makes loose leaf teas, and you can see mine is halfway gone. This is a tea that she makes for women, and she actually sells them during Eid. So if anybody's looking for Eid gifts for their friends or their family, she makes loose leaf teas. This is a particular tea blend that's made for women for their cycles, but she does all types of teas. My sister-in-law is a doula, which means she helps people have babies, and you could look that up to get more of the definition. But one of the things that she does is offers teas to her clients, and the name of her tea blends are Shahida's Organic Blends. And so I'll offer information about how to buy that and how to contact Shahida after we finish today. And so now I want to go ahead and introduce my guests. We have two guests, two long-standing friends of mine, and her young adult son. So,
young adult son.
That's what he is.
He's still my baby.
He's a young adult. So what's your name?
Okay, I'm Reshelle.
And my name is Amir.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about yourselves, both of yourselves? Just maybe what you do and, anything else.
Okay. So by profession, I am an educator, but as of lately, I've been doing a lot with our family business that we have, Mecca International Institute, which basically focuses on community development and health and wellness. And then
my name is Amir. I am 16.
Are you a student? Are you in school? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, yes, I'm still in school. I'm in the 11th grade. I attend South Gwinnett High School. Some hobbies I have are painting and wrestling.
Okay, cool. Well, we want to thank you both for being here today. We are going to be continuing a conversation Nafis and I started on the topic of community contribution. We're going to be focusing specifically today on how community contribution is a part of your everyday life and how that contribution has been influenced by your parents. And so we're going to have a conversation about that today. Generally, when we have our guests on the show, we like to start with a standard question. And this question is about a motto, a family motto. So our family motto is to work hard, pray hard, love hard, and play hard. Do you all have a family motto? And if so, what is it?
Well, our typical model around here, which kind of gets the troops motivated, is work first, then play.
Okay.
We've got to work hard, get things done, and then we can enjoy ourselves. So our motto here is work first, then play.
I like that. Okay. Amir, did you want to add anything to that, or is that the motto and that's it?
Well, yeah, that's the general model. We can't really do anything without working first. You have to get everything in order so that we can have fun.
All right, cool. I like that. Okay, so Nafis is going to start us off with our first question.
The first question is, how is community contribution a part of your everyday life? What does that look like?
Community like I said, we have an organization, Mecca International Institute. And so we're always trying to do programs, most of which are not, we have a nonprofit. So we're not making, a lot of income off of what we're doing. It's programs that we see based off of mainly what our family needs that we know that the larger community could use. So for instance, our summer camp, a lot of people need that affordable childcare, what it basically comes down to during the summer, that offers an Islamic environment as well as a safe place, and it's with qualified people running it. And outside of that, we do our college tours. These things kids need the exposure to these institutes of higher education with, even if they're not going to that particular school, being able to sit and meet with admissions counselors and see the campus. And I remember when we took kids to Howard, they got to see a probate. These kids, I don't think any of the kids actually said that they wanted to go to Howard, but just going there, they know what to look for, what they want, what they don't want out of a school. So a lot of what we do, our community contributions is, exposure and providing services that people need, and basically giving it to them in that package that they feel comfortable with.
Okay, and Amir, before you answer, can you tell our listeners how they can be in contact with you if they're interested in receiving any services from your nonprofit?
Well, I mainly work through Instagram, so my Instagram handle is amirs.shoe.lab, and I usually customize shoes on there and digital artwork.
Oh, cool. Okay. And Reshelle, how can we be in contact with your nonprofit?
Okay, so we have a webpage. It's www.meccainstitute.org. Okay. And we have our emails info@meccainstitute.org, and we also have a Facebook and an Instagram.
Okay. Cool.
Mecca_Institute is our Instagram, and Mecca.Institute, I believe, is the Facebook.
Okay. All right. So I'm sure that both of you have received some type of feedback about, the contribution that you both offer. Amir, you have shoes, and, Reshelle, you're working with a nonprofit. Have you ever received feedback from the community about the contribution you were offering? And if so, what type of feedback have you received?
So we've mainly received positive feedback. We work with a very diverse group of people because we're in Gwinnett County. So Gwinnett County, we've got we work with people from East and West Africa. We've got Indo-Pac families that we've worked with, and of course we've got our African American communities that they'll drive and come up to us, or we've actually had a lot of our tours and things that we've done where we've actually met at the Land of Masjid, because we find that's our strongest supporters, is that community. So we've mainly we've received positive feedback, because a lot of times people will say that they've always wanted these services that we've offered, but they didn't feel comfortable with the people who were offering the programs. And because they know us and we're in the community and we're active, they'll say that we want our kids to go with you, or we want our tutoring to be done with you all because we've seen you before and we trust you. If we've ever had any constructive criticism, I would say people say, y'all are doing so much, y'all, what's the focus? Because, we've got the hijama that we do the college tours, we do tutoring. One of the things that we're seeing with all this COVID, that we actually, alhamdulillah, when we started this year, we started off the school year homeschooling. We went ahead and decided that, we was going to take that step this year. And a lot of parents got thrown into homeschooling. And so, because this isn't the first time I've homeschooled the kids, but because it's difficult. And for someone to tell a parent in the middle of the school year, you need to go and start, homeschooling your kids. One of the things that we're going to start offering is a homeschool network. Because even I think next school year, they're saying some of the school districts might even start late, or they might have a blended learning situation because of, they're not sure how things are going to work out. And we see that need, what we know might be of service to other families.
Okay. And Amir, how about you? What type of feedback have you received as far as your contribution with your shoe designs?
Well, I haven't really done too many customs for many people, but the people that I have done, they mainly just give me feedback on what they like, what they don't like, how I can improve. And when I started off, I didn't have that many supplies. And so as I kept building the business up, there were like there was less feedback against what I did and more feedback of like how well it was looking.
Okay, I like that. All right.
Our next question is, if your community contribution is made to multiple communities, how do you prioritize who gets more of your daily contribution?
Our priority is to the people who need it the most. That's the main thing. I even if it's the paying people, we cannot. What we found is that we're trying to put our money in our bank account for the next life. So serving those people who need it the most is more fulfilling and more satisfying for us. So even if we have those people who are paying, and those, we don't turn people away because they can't pay for the services that we have, but that's what our priority is. Our priority is for those people who are in need of what we have to offer.
And Amir, are you interested in only doing shoes for a certain age group, or is it anybody can come to you for shoe design?
It's mainly anybody, because the service is for everyone. Everyone likes art. Everyone likes unique things that to make them look different.
Okay. All right, cool. How has the community contribution of your parents had an impact on the expectation of your future contribution? And either of you can answer, because I'm sure you both have parents. But Amir, if you'd like to go first, that would be good.
Well, the impact on my parents, they've been really supportive of what I did. When I first started, they got me the bare essentials I need to start customizing shoes. Okay. And kind of pushed me and gave me criticism also on how I can improve.
Do you feel like that what they're doing is having an impact on what is expected of you as far as what you're supposed to be doing in the community?
Yes, I think that they have standards that they want me to reach, and I'm trying my best to achieve them.
Inshallah, do it. Reshelle, how about you?
So my mother, she's an educator as well. She's actually the superintendent of Cochise County out in Arizona. So she's really, I don't think I'll ever be able to fill her shoes, but she's like my number one fan. Everything I do, she's always 100% for it. She gives me feedback, anything that she can or do or resources, she's willing to give it to me. She doesn't think it'll work. She won't say no, or she'll just smile and kind of scrunch. She gives me her little hidden body language to say that's not it. But yeah, my mom, she's definitely been a big supporter, and then my father-in-law also. He's been in the community for a very long time, and I have very young sister-in-laws, so he'll put them in our programs, or he'll give us feedback as well. He's also a strong supporter of the different things that we've done.
Cool. How about you, Nafis? Do you feel like that my community contribution has had an impact on what's expected of you?
Yes.
In what way?
In a good way, kind of like the same things that Amir was saying, like to live up to certain standards, but also to create your own path and also be unique. Also the same thing, Amir, I am an artist, I'm a painter. So in terms of being, artistic and trying to make sure I can make a name for myself also, I've been trying that too, and making sure that I'm being unique and I'm being creative also. So I definitely trying to live up to the standard and also go above and beyond.
Yeah, and for me, my parents set a standard years ago that even though my mother is deceased, I'm still living up to that standard, and the community is still holding me accountable for lots of things: my parenting, my Islam, my giving back, my volunteering, how nice I am, if I'm rude, things like that. If I'm giving money back, in zakat or sadaqah, those types of things are what my parents were known for, and they were educators. They are educators as well, so that's one of the things that's expected of me as well, and I don't have a problem with it too. So question?
The next question is, do you feel it is important for any young man who has an expectation for his future community contribution that was influenced by his parents to change his narrative?
Do you understand the question?
No, could you read it?
Okay, so do you feel it's important for any young man who has an expectation of his future community contribution that was influenced by his parents to change if he wants? Like, if your mom and dad is expecting something of you, they're expecting you to continue, whatever they've established as far as their community contribution. Do you think it's okay or important for you to be able to have your own spin on it, for you to have your own influence on what that narrative is going to look like for the future?
Yes, I think it's okay for me to have my own spin on it, because I might see things that they didn't complete and they didn't fill in. So if I take over their community business, I might be able to expand it, make it better, and provide more for the community.
Okay.
One thing that we're always asking Amir, feedback on just about everything that we do. We realize that we're not as young as he is. So he has a different viewpoint on things that we might come up with. Like we do the Eat Lock-ins every year, and we'll come up with like, man, this will be really fun, and he's looking at us like, no, that's not gonna get it. So we allow for, we really want him to become whoever he wants to be or make whatever contributions that he wants in the future. And if he doesn't like what because we've always kind of looked at what he's liked, as he's grown up as a kid, and try to put him wherever we thought would help him to be, grow the most, and so if he decides that he didn't like, the footing that we put him in, we'd accept it as long as he doesn't say he wants to be a drug dealer or something like that.
All right.
Whatever halal thing he wants to do, we
we're watching you. We making sure you're not going to become a drug dealer.
Right.
All right.
All right. So for the next question, we've been having a conversation about community contribution, and for our listeners, there are moms who are wondering, how do I have a conversation with my son about this whole topic? We have this expectation for our children to give back without having these conversations with them. And so my question is, do you think it's fair for a family to have an expectation of a young man to contribute to the community at all?
Yes, everyone should be given back to the community that helped them grow up. And yeah.
That's good. That's a good answer. Reshelle, would you add anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's the circle of life. Everybody has to give a little. It's you're paying it forward. You're going to contribute because there's someone else. You've got to balance it out. My husband, he always says, he reminds us, those who what does he say? Those who's given more is expected more. So if you have more, you should give more.
What about you? What do you think? You think it's fair for there to be an expectation for you to give back?
I think it's fair, because also, like, if you're a part of the community, then you also want the community to get much stronger and much more better than what it was maybe the generations before. So definitely the only way to support it is to give what you have, or at least try. It's always good to put some effort in.
Yeah, I agree. My answer, I would add it just a little bit, that I think it's fair also to listen to what, young men really want to do. Because oftentimes, some young men have dreamed of moving away, and joining a new community, or they have their own idea about what they have in mind. And if we're not having conversations, you have people in the community who are giving back with toxic behavior, and they're causing toxic relationships to form within our community because they never really wanted to be there, and they become takers, in a sense, where they take the resources that we have and they never really, invest because they didn't want to be there in the first place. So I think it's important, to have conversations with your young men and your young women before they leave home, even before they become young adults, so they can understand who is your community? Who are the people that are in the community? And also, what does giving back look like? You know, what is it? What are the needs, so that they're not just kind of sitting there, able bodies, not really sure about what's expected of them. You know what I mean? And they don't know what to do, but everybody's criticizing them for not doing something, which happens often, you know, with young men, where people are like, you lazy, you don't do nothing. But the reality is, they're like, well, what do you want me to do? You know, tell me a task that you want me to do, and let it be something that I can, you know, want to be a part of, not just be a community slave in a sense. You know, so I think they should definitely have some buy-in as far as, you know, talking to them ahead of time and knowing, you know, where are you at with this? What are your plans? So it's not a shock after they graduate from high school or decide to whatever they're going to do, they're just going to move away. Not around here. So, all right, Nafis, we're going to go into our last question.
Our last question is, what advice would you offer to a young men who want to contribute to their community in ways that their community doesn't identify as useful?
So you're going to have some times where you have an idea. You think that the community needs help. And you say, you know what, you guys are doing this all wrong. This is the way I think this should happen. And people are like, that's not helpful. That's not useful. What advice can you offer to people who have ideas that the community does not find useful?
I know one of the things that with like community organizations and even with people who are trying to fund like nonprofits is that one of the first things they usually ask that you do is a needs assessment. You know, so it's no need in offering people services that they don't want. You know, it's important to find out what the community wants before you decide to come up with your service. So that's what I would recommend. I would recommend you you know, talking to the community. That I remember, you know, in addition to education, before I became an educator, I was a social worker. So, you know, I remember, you know, one of my professors talking about how, you know, they worked with, what's the name of that organization? It's not Right from the Start, but Head Start. And, you know, one of the ways that they, you know, got the parents to buy in is that they offered them like meals, you know, because they wasn't willing to come in and talk to people if they were hungry. And so once they got, you know, the buy-in from the community to come in, and, you know, food kind of takes the edge off of people and, you know, makes them more willing to kind of join the conversation, they were able to see what was needed and provide them with exactly, you know, what the families in that community were looking for. But that would be my main thing. I think that, you know, before you can go ahead and service to people, you have to know what they want and what they need and how you know, what may, you know, because people might need tutoring, but it might not be in the way that's it might be, you know, some communities, they only want girls to tutor girls or boys to tutor boys, or it might be that, you know, they need it in a one-on-one setting or a group setting. You just, you know, you might have a service that you need, but you also need to find out, you know, how people are going to ingest it or take it.
Amir, have you ever dealt with offering a service that the community didn't find useful?
I've never dealt with that myself, but if I notice that someone was offering a service to the community that the community was not really accepting, some advice I could give to them was that they can offer it to the people specifically who really want that service and who are willing to go above and beyond to get that service from them, but like not necessarily break away from the community, but just chart it towards them individually.
Okay, I love that answer. That's actually a very good answer. What would you say, Nafis?
I definitely say, in terms of presenting idea to the community, maybe present it in a way that it doesn't seem like it's attacking the community. Because sometimes when you present ideas, sometimes the community feels like, oh, what you're saying, what we've done for these years is wrong, and you're not criticizing it. But if you present it in a way that is more understanding and making sure, like, you know, I'm not saying what you guys have been doing is wrong, but I think this will be a much more modern way or efficient way, then maybe we could do something much more better, or, you know, just anything. So I definitely think presenting it in a way that is that can create more conversation should the way to go about presenting ideas.
And I agree with that. It's important to know what resources are already being offered, because a lot of times when new people come to the community or people want to offer, criticism, it's usually because they don't know what's been going on for years. And sometimes people that are longstanding members can feel offended because it's like, how dare you come tell us we have needs when we've been doing this all along?
Mm-hmm.
So my approach usually is to say, oh, I really like this X, Y, and Z program. I was wondering if you ever considered doing this. Not, I start with, I see you got X, Y, and Z, and that program is trash. That would be completely different than to say, here's a way that it can be improved, and is this an idea that you would go with? So we want to thank you both for being here, and thank you for joining in this conversation today about community contribution. It's been very helpful, and hopefully it's been helpful to our guests. Do you have any advice you want to offer our guests before we close out?
Service is important. Service is what keeps us going. I mean, money isn't everything, and working for your community is, I think, one of the most rewarding things that you can do.
How are you, Amir?
Well, I was going to say that giving back to the community is staying productive, and you're staying productive, you're not harming, you're giving back to the community, helping them build up from the next generation to next, and perfecting everyone.
Okay. All right. So this has been another episode of Between Us and Y'all. We want to thank Reshelle and Amir Abdul Malik for being here today. You all have been very helpful in this conversation and even shedding light for us on how we can give back to the community in this particular way. We always encourage our guests as we part ways to make sure that you do work hard, pray hard, love hard, and play hard. It kind of falls in line with you all's family motto, work first, play later. So, well, and hopefully this has been beneficial to our listeners. We want to thank you for being here. You all have a great day. Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.